possible. And they just the way Wooga Poplar played today, because they needed another guy beside Eric Dixon, changed things for me.
Yeah. I mean, and again, if you just kind of look at what Villanova's done, I mean, he beat UConn on the 8th. Lost a bit of a heartbreaker there to Creighton on February the 1st. Again, Creighton was one of the hottest teams in America. But Tyler, he didn't hit the game winner. But Eric Dixon, it helps when you have the nation's leading scorer who's been in college basketball for forever. He threw up a couple shots there late. They might have been a prayer, for somebody else. But for him, that's just another night in college basketball.
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented player. Obviously, he has the ability to score. I wasn't too thrilled with the shot selection. I thought, especially at the end of the game, they made that three-pointer. I still thought it was a bad look. They should have attacked the rim. And the same thing goes for St. John's. I don't think they played their best game tonight. Maybe this has a little bit more to do with St. John's not really bringing it on the road at Villanova. I didn't like the selection of St. John's trying to win the game at the end, especially when he had his defender up in the air and he had it was just Broadway right down to the rim. I think he could have just put the ball on the deck and had a wide open layup and tied the game. But I'm not sold on Villanova. I mean, it's been peaks and valleys. Need a little bit more consistency, but these next games coming up, they could prove a lot of people wrong. They're going to have their chances, and they could definitely prove me wrong too.
Yeah, obviously a massive shot there from Tyler Perkins. I mean, he was open. He got the look that you want, and he drilled it. And, it was one of those things, T.O., where Villanova has been in these situations where they're able to build halftime leads, right? They're able to kind of get ahead, and then – St. John's turns the press on and they start turning the ball over and it kind of falls apart. So if that's kind of been your MO and you find a way to not do that against a quality opponent, is it almost like, you're cured of that illness moving forward?
That's when your confidence can snowball into something bigger. And that's kind of why I was looking ahead to their next few games. You go to Providence, you get a win there, very possible, because you're going to have the two best players on the floor with Eric Dixon and Wooga Poplar, especially the way Poplar played today. Like he was electric. I do think the thing is you talked about how they got first half leads going towards the end. St. John's didn't get a bad look now. Like sometimes it's just a matter of make or miss it, making it or missing it. And that's kind of the hard thing that you have to live with as a coach. But they could go on a little bit of a run here. I was just so encouraged by seeing some of those other guys just go nuts. I mean, Wooga Poplar looked like a different guy.
He did. Great name, by the way. One of the best names in college basketball.
Wooga. I was surprised Poplar, he left Miami.
Not far from me. Yeah, and what a pickup for Villanova. Tyler, I do want to circle back on St. John's because – again, I'm hesitant to be too critical because, it's college basketball, man. It's a road game. Like, you're going to lose. It happens all the time in college basketball. It did feel like, though, and I don't know, and this is where I'm curious to get your opinion. I don't know if it was what Villanova wanted, but St. John's took an uncharacteristic amount of threes tonight. I mean, that's not how they have won games in this 10-game winning streak. It's not how they've become who they are. And Aaron Scott kind of, got a few going early and, they just jacked them up all night. So was that just they saw a few go in and they were getting the looks and were just taking the shots? Was that a defensive, scheme from Villanova to give them those looks? Like, what did you just make of the way St. John's played offensively tonight?
Well, I'm not a big fan of hemorrhaging threes. I never have been. I know T.O.'s a shooter. He thought the shot that St. John's got at the end of the game, I thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was comical. He had his defender up in the air. He had the opportunity to go right in for a wide open layup and chose to shoot the three. So the reason I'm a little upset about St. John's losing tonight, but I will touch on the personnel. The Richmond kid, he has the ability to play bully ball, and I don't like when you have guys like him that can take people off the dribble, back down. He's strong. He finishes through contact. I think when you have players like that and you have the ability to play an up-tempo type of game, I think when you take the first open three or the first opportunity to shoot a three, I think you don't make the defense work as hard as it should. And I think St. John's is too athletic to settle for outside jump shots. But I was also upset because I'm a big fan of Rick Pitino, and I was really wanting him to win Coach of the Year for what he's done at St. John's. And I know losing tonight probably didn't help that campaign. But, yeah, I think he's done a great job too. So
yeah, now we got to give it to Kyle Neptune. That's just the way it works. You know, he had it, and then you lose to Villanova. Now we got to give the hardware to Kyle Neptune, man. It's just king of the hill shit. That's what we do. But yeah, I will say though, T.O., like, not to try to do the moral victory thing, the way that I think Rick Pitino will probably tell you that he that was far from their best game tonight. And it probably was Villanova's best game tonight, to be quite honest. The way that they were able to sort of lock that press in, the way that they kind of came out in the second half, jumped on them, built that 5-point lead. They were never out of it, despite the difference. I mean, that should still give you pretty good, faith in St. John's ability to bounce back from this and make the kind of run we think they can.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, man, there was a lot of 13 turnovers tonight. I mean, that's not a ton for college, but at the same time, some of them were just mind-blowing. And keep in mind, too, like, they had to battle back into this thing. And, the bully ball aspect of what Tyler's talking about, I like that they kind of have some yin and yang with that roster. Like the fact that Richmond can attack and get into people's bodies, and then they have guys that can step out and shoot. I like having both of those. I thought R.J. Lewis, he just didn't have a great game tonight shooting the basketball, but their ability to make it so messy, they just got caught on the road in the Big East today to a team that has two really, really talented players in Eric Dixon and Wooga Poplar, and they got beat. And they weren't able to force quite enough turnovers to get them out in transition to win. So, you know what? The game was so fun and so back and forth, but God, there were times, I'm not even kidding, like there were times between like the 7-minute mark of the second half and the 4-minute mark of the second half. It was like, God, both teams are trying to lose. Like, it was some of the turnovers for both teams were just amazing.
Yeah, like, and I will say this. I was on social media earlier today, and which I'm because I'm addicted, obviously. And there was like this big New York sports radio argument about NBA versus college basketball, and the guy was like, I can't watch college basketball because the offense is so bad, and all these different, the same pablum that everybody always says. But it's like, what I would tell people is, if you come to college basketball because you want to see the absolute highest level of execution possible, the best shot making, the best skill, you're in it for the wrong reasons. Like, you got to love college basketball for its imperfections. Yeah. That's why I love it, because it's not perfect. It's not going to be, pro level execution, even though these guys are getting paid. Like, I love the fact that somebody might shit their pants with a minute left. That makes it fun for me. I mean, yeah. I love, that's the charm. That's the charm of college basketball. So if you come in it looking for NBA level execution,
Yeah, there is beauty in the disaster that is college basketball, is what you're telling me.
Absolutely, man.
I love it, man. I love it. That's a great point.
Everybody's not going to go to the NBA. Everybody's not going to play professionally, right? So you're going to have ridiculous turnovers where nobody's looking at each other. And it's like, it's just comedy. It's fun. It's entertainment, like, you truly have no idea what you're going to get in a given college basketball game. And that's just what you were talking about, the turnovers that really didn't make any sense. But it was also a great shot making game there in the final minute. And, I love that game a lot. And it felt like a classic college basketball game. So just make sure you're in it for the right reasons, man. Be a fan for the right reasons. And I promise you'll get some enjoyment out of the sport. All right, a couple of other things. And this kind of goes exactly into what we're talking about, right? Wake Forest is up 14 points with 8 minutes left in the game. Okay. And they're at home and they need this one, just to continue to solidify, their tournament resume, Tyler. And you know how it goes. A couple of turnovers, a couple of missed free throws, and suddenly Florida State springs this upset down 14 with 8 minutes left on the road, 72-70. What does this mean for Wake Forest to not get this done at home with that massive lead with 8 minutes? Or maybe it's not even that massive. Maybe that's the lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it really kills their resume. And I think the biggest part is when you have a monumental collapse like this, usually it's on the road. And, you let the other team get a little momentum, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with the crowd, the energy of that, and you have a lot of things working against you. But this was a case where Wake Forest was in their own building, and they just didn't protect their home court, and they didn't execute down the stretch.
Steve Forbes said it after the game, John. Steve Forbes said it after the game. It's the worst loss he's had at Wake Forest. And I have no argument. I have no argument. Not only that, I think you were up 16 points with 8 minutes to go. You let Florida State back in by turning the ball over and basically not being able to get Hunter Salas the ball, who's your best player, and they wouldn't get him the ball. Not that they wouldn't, but Florida State did a nice job of denying it, this, that, and a third. However, find a way to get that man the ball, let him create something for you. Then they just a couple of poor rotations, end up in open shots. Florida State gets some confidence, they get going, and my God, here we have a game. And then not only do you not execute on one end of the floor, they come down, hit a three. There's 14 seconds left to go. And Tyler Johnson, who was 0 for 3 on the day in 24 minutes, or 0 for 3 up to the point, takes the ball and shoots it from 40 feet with 11 seconds to go. You're down 2 points. It was it was a crazy. No, you were down 1. It was one of the crazier scenes I've ever seen. There was plenty of time. Look, Wake Forest didn't have any timeouts. However, I hate to really bog down this kid, but there's a reason you go to certain places to get certain transfers, and it's because they've been taught how to do winning stuff. You look at what Louisville's done whenever they've grabbed transfers and how well they've done. You look at Clemson and how they've grabbed Victor Locken, who's had some success, Jaden Zachary, who understands how to play. And you get Tyler Johnson, who was playing for Kenny Payne last year, and he doesn't understand how to win these close games. And how do you to me, it was unfathomable. I understand the confidence part. You want a kid to have that confidence, but the dude was 0 for 4 on the day with 4 fouls and 3 turnovers. And he's the one that's going to take a 40-footer with 11.7 seconds to go when it leaves his hand. I hate to come down on a kid like that. However, Wake Forest coaching staff left themselves vulnerable because there was no more timeouts, because they were trying to stop the bleeding when they were up 16. And it was nuts. And when he misses the shot, get this too. You want to talk about a microcosm for the whole team. The whole team quit. So there were 7 seconds to go. Florida State gets a rebound. You can foul. They don't foul. Florida State makes a boneheaded decision. They decide to push the ball up, and they dunk it instead of dribbling the clock out. And then Cam Hildreth, they were both trying to lose. Both games we watched today, both teams were trying to lose the game. St. John's, Villanova, they were both losing. They can't both lose, but it's possible. Wake Forest and Florida State both tried to lose this game today. And then Cam Hildreth gets fouled at the end, and it's tough because they got to go review it, and you're standing still, and then you got to shoot 3 free throws. He missed his first one. So but you cannot have that. And I just could not believe not only the shot that was taken, but the ability that Florida State came back in it the way they did. Wake Forest couldn't stop the bleeding despite having what Wake Forest fans are telling me is a first-team All-ACC guard. They couldn't stop the bleeding. And then they couldn't get a stop. And then the guy that you're telling me is all that great can't get the ball at the end of the game? Hey, Hunter Salas is a really talented kid. But, he's got to get the ball. He's got to get the ball.
Right.
This is a killer for the resume. They're 1-6 in quad ones, and that only win being the third game of the season against Michigan in Greensboro on a neutral. 1-6. They basically had a whole bunch of you can't lose games. That's all they had. And now they're going to play at SMU, which is a potential quad one, and then we'll go play Duke. They're not beating Duke. It's not going to happen. So that this was a killer. This was a killer for Wake Forest.
Yeah, they were Wake Forest was in field of 68s last 4 in on Monday, so I think this would probably move them to first 4 out. By the way, Tyler, what's up with these teams getting announcements from their coaches that they're leaving or retiring and playing their best basketball? Does that just mean they're ready? They're excited for that to happen? Because Indiana plays like two of its best games all season. They lost to Michigan, but it was like a game the entire way. And then they beat Michigan State over the weekend. And Florida State hasn't lost since Leonard Hamilton announced he's stepping down. So are these guys just excited that they're getting the hell out of here? What's going on?
You got to go out with a bang, baby.
Hey, I mean, I guess it's taking off some of the pressure. But, a lot of times, especially in pro sports, not so much in college sports, is the easiest change to make is actually the head coaching job. Is if things aren't going in the direction you want it. And I know it sounds kind of harsh, but, sometimes, if you've lost the locker room and guys have, I'm not saying this is the case at all, by the way. Don't apply this to what's going on at Florida State or Indiana. I don't know in particular. It could be, could not be. But a lot of times when there's a change and guys kind of rally, they get that momentum or that little spark that they need. I've been through a coaching change at Indiana, and it went from Jim O'Brien to Frank Vogel, and it was a complete 180. I mean, it went from, a totally different personality, and the team fed off that, and we got some momentum, and we turned our season around. So, coaching change can make a big difference, but usually it's in pro sports, not college sports.
Yeah, we've got double overtime, by the way, in Lubbock as we speak. All right, Louisville wins again. They have lost, one game, T.O., since December the 13th. And they've done that, despite injuries, obviously losing a couple guys. Chucky Hepburn's been in and out of the lineup. I guess my question with Louisville is more so from a big picture standpoint. How good are they? When you're trying to make sense of this team and their record, how good are they? Where do they stack up with, some of the best in college basketball?
I'm so impressed every time I watch them play and how they move the ball and get to the next best decision. And some people are calling me a Louisville homer, but damn it, guys. Like, I'm sitting there watching. I was like, how fun would that be to be Rain Smith as a shooter? Like, I'm sitting there watching him trail on the break, just finding him shots. And then they get creative every now and then and find him wide open shots. They're all unselfish. It's incredible, really. Like, what do I think Louisville can be? I think Louisville can win. They could make the second weekend with the right draw, and they'll give somebody in that third round a tough out because they're good. They can shoot. They defend. I think what we've seen throughout the course is, I think the Tennessee game on what was it, the second game of the season, I think that was just kind of like, we got to figure this out. We have some problems. We got to figure it out. That's all fine. They go down to the Bahamas. They beat the brakes off Indiana. They beat West Virginia in overtime. Then they lose in the finals to Oklahoma, who was better than people thought initially. And then they lose what was their best player at that point of the season. Then they had to kind of reconvene. And then since December 21st, those dudes have been cooking. Like, it's been amazing to watch, really. Their only loss come against Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech really only plays well against really good teams. It's the damnedest thing with Georgia Tech. They will beat They beat Clemson. They beat Louisville. They'll mess around and beat somebody else too, but they'll lose to everybody else. Like, it's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But it's they're talented, man. And because they share it and they play it so unselfishly and they move it so well, it's a second weekend team. I think that's entirely within the realm of possibility. The ACC's got a top three, and then I think there's a considerable drop off. But it's they're really good, really good.
Yeah, by the way, one loss since December 15th. I had the date wrong, but one loss since December 15th for the Louisville Cardinals. All right, we'll come back. Duke got back on track tonight against Cal, but also we need to talk about what happened at Clemson, and it's great. It's great that we have T.O. here. I mean, this could not have worked out more perfectly. So we're going to get into the whole court storming thing and what Jon Scheyer had to say about it when we come back. Stick around. Field of 68 After Dark.
If you haven't heard by now, we have partnered with BetMGM for the season. We'll be using BetMGM lines to make all of our picks, and we'll have special offers for the listeners and the viewers. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code FIELD. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game, and you'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets. Go download the BetMGM app and use the code FIELD today. Would you be surprised to find out that the Field of 68 is home to more than 35 podcasts? More than 25 team-specific podcasts that are hosted by the people that know what fans want the most. The Goodman and Humble podcast, the DTF podcast, the A10 Insider podcast, and the Mountain West podcast. But wait, there's even more. The Field of 68 will be launching the ACC Insider podcast this year. Subscribe to this channel and come along for the ride.
Welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark, Wednesday, February 12th edition of the show. We are here on YouTube. We're here on SiriusXM College Sports Channel 84. We will be doing the afters tonight to touch on anything that we might have missed. Just a little bit of an update here. Missouri is belt to ass on this Oklahoma team right now. That's the best way I could put it, T.O. Oklahoma, man, if we have an arrow pointing up and an arrow pointing down, the arrow is pointing very much down on this Oklahoma team. They had a hot start to the year, but man, it's been tough for them since they got in the SEC.
And here I am just singing their praises whenever we're talking about them winning. That's just tough. That's just tough, and that's being unaware. Tough. That's a bad media.
Hey, you know what
that is.
No, I will say this about doing this show, like, you know, and you're doing it nightly throughout the college basketball season. Like, the nature of this is you're just going to say something that ages like shit. You know, like I'm pretty sure,
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that when Oklahoma beat somebody early in the year, and I was like, yeah, man, like, this is November. I said, they can finish in the top 4 in the SEC. Dude, they're going to finish in the bottom 4 of the SEC. Like, what a terrible opinion. But, you know, we get caught up in it, man. That's the way it happens.
Almost as bad as me picking Auburn. I want to say 5th or 6th in the preseason. That's one that I'll just never live down. Like, that was just a bad pick.
Do you get chirped by Auburn fans all day?
Oh, dude, Auburn fans will bring up tweets from August. They're insane.
They should.
Like, they
if
really
you pick
will.
Them fifth, they should.
They should. They get offended.
Tough, yeah, but listen, we got some more action to get to tonight. Duke basketball back to business, 78-57 for the Duke Blue Devils at home against Cal. Look, I'm not going to sit here and act like it's the most important thing. They didn't cover the number, okay? They didn't cover the number. They won, they didn't cover. But still obviously a resounding win, T.O.
What was the freaking number?
Just your 23.5. I mean, as it should have been, right? I mean, come on, it's Cal basketball. They're going across country. It needs to be a big number here. But, again, we'll do that. We'll have that discussion later. Just your thoughts on Duke kind of getting back to business and polishing off this Cal team.
Cooper Flagg went for 27, 5, and 3. 3 steals. I'm sitting there watching him, and not many people just move like that. Like, Brandon Miller, who I have had the privilege of seeing over the last 2 seasons with the Charlotte Hornets, like, he's really, really athletic. He doesn't move like that. This guy's a gazelle. It's like he had a steal today where he goes down. I think he took 2 dribbles from the time he stole it and then ended up doing a backwards dunk where he just brought it down below his waistline and just casually threw it in. He just moves different. And I hate when people say that all the time because it takes the validity out of the words. But, like, his strides, I was sitting there watching. I was like, man, he gets by people. It doesn't even look like he's making a move. And I end up going back and rewinding it. I'm like, why is he getting to spots like this? And it's 2 things. First thing is he changes levels so well. And what I mean by that is he'll be dribbling and he'll get from standing straight up to getting his chest in your midsection as fast as he gets going. That's number one. The other thing is his legs are so flexible and his strides are so long. He covers so much space without looking like he's going that fast. So, like, whenever he's just gliding past you, it's because his steps are so long, he's not playing against people like him. That's the best way I can put that. And not only that, the dude, and I mean this as a compliment, the same way as I would compliment Tyler on this, he's kind of an asshole. The same way Tyler was kind of an asshole when he played. And that's the best compliment you can give somebody. He has that edge too. I'm telling you, because, like, I'm sitting here watching, I'm like, hey, what makes him different? And I think those 3 things are the things that make him different.
Do you
Am I
do you
wrong?
accept that? Do you accept that
compliment.
moniker? By the way, do you accept that you were an asshole on the court? I thought you were always just a sweetheart.
Yeah, hey T.O., I really appreciate that, man. You made me feel good with that. I take a lot of pride in being an asshole
week.
too. And here's a real thing: is Cal's not going to test Duke. They're too talented. They're too big and too athletic. And listen, I tune into the games and the Duke games, and they are fun to watch. I mean, they play hard. And there's one kid, the Maluwatch kid. I just think that he gets overlooked because of Cooper Flagg's, like, his abilities, and I'll just join in with everybody else in his greatness and his aura. Maluwatch gets overlooked, and I think Maluwatch is actually going to be a great pro. I think he has length. He has soft touch, and he hasn't been playing the game that long. His ceiling is going to be high. And when I was at Cameron for the UNC game, which was a tough one for all Tar Heels, you don't really get a good idea of how long Duke is until you see them in person. I mean, they are big at about every position. And when you have a team that has that length, they have the ability to contest about every shot, and nothing comes easy at times. I just think that Duke's a much better team than I anticipated as well, even though everyone hyped them up and has already put them in Springfield. I mean, they're a very impressive team, and they deserve all the credit.
I thought you were going to give us Cooper Flagg's Riz. I thought you were going to drop a Riz in there. You got aura, greatness, Riz. He just surprises me every day, T.O.
I'm not one to judge another man's Riz, but he is right when it comes to he is right when it comes to their collective size. Man, they're huge.
Right.
Like, they're huge across the board. And I was watching Game Day a couple of weeks ago, and Billis says, well, I'd like to see Duke get out and create more turnovers. I have a lot of respect for Jay Billis. I wasn't sure I agreed with that. Because they are so big, you have to play so far over the top of them that it makes it really hard to score on them, even when you're not turning it over. So, like, you're having to hit some contested shots. And not only that, if you do get inside 8 feet, they're good enough and athletic enough they can chest you up. And then you have the help side coming over the back. So, like, you have Maluwatch coming over the back who's got like a 7'9" wingspan. You have Cooper Flagg who's freaking bird, like, just flying all over the place, blocking and erasing shots. Like, it's amazing. And then you bring in Malik Brown off the bench. Yeah. So, like, the length and the ability to keep you in front is what makes me so confident that Duke's going to make it so far in the tournament, because they don't rely on creating turnovers. They rely on steady, sound defense. And if you're going to hit shots, you're going to hit some tough ones. Because that defensive versatility of what they can do. Say the other team doesn't have a big, which is what we've seen with Purdue a few years ago, where they lost to St. Peter's because St. Peter's just had 5 small dudes that they were all shooting, and they were pinning down Zach Edey. Like, if you want to do that against Duke, they could just take Maluwatch out of the game and then put Malik at the 5, and then you're just switching everything. So, like, their ability to defend and then having the best player on the court every night, I think Duke's. I'm not going to say shoe in. I'm not saying it.
Yeah, no, they're definitely. I don't know where you exploit them. They're pretty damn tough to beat. However, Clemson found a way to do it, and we're not gonna relitigate that. I mean, listen, tough place to win. I mean, obviously, it doesn't happen very often. You go on a little John. Unless you're Memphis. I mean, but for everybody else, it's extremely difficult to do. And look, we're not going to relitigate that today.
You see that? He just had to slide it in there, didn't he?
No, it was not. That was a compliment. That was a compliment to you. That's all that was. Just like you gave Tyler. But listen, that's not what we're here to talk about. They stormed the court at Clemson. It's everybody's favorite discussion topic in college basketball. And Jon Scheyer had some thoughts on that, and we'll get his thoughts, and then I'll throw it to both you guys on this whole thing. Let's go to Jon Scheyer.
Well, Kip, look, it was a tough situation, and I didn't want to say anything about it, because I didn't want it to take away from the job that Clemson did. Clemson, man, they played a big time game and big time win, and that should have been the story. But it's crossing my mind at the end of the game about trying to make sure our players are safe, and that shouldn't be my responsibility in that moment. Security should have that taken care of, and the fact that I'm debating the chance. Look, we could win the game still, down 6 with 5 seconds to go. As a coach, you want to be thinking about how to win the game, and we were. I mean, Cooper hits that 3. You're stealing a 3 away from winning. That's my mindset. And the officials tried to stop the rush for just a second, just so we could get our players off the court. So I think they should rush and court storming and all that. Just we got to get our players off the court safely. And that wasn't a safe environment, no question about it. I mean, I was put in a position where I was shielding our guys from people running up and getting in their face. So I don't think we want something to happen and then have to make a decision to do something. So again, I don't want anything. That's not for Brad to worry about. That's not for his staff, their team. They did an incredible job. But yeah, obviously that's I'm concerned for our players' safety in that case, no question.
All right, Tyler. What do you think when you hear those comments from Jon Scheyer?
I laugh at him, and I say that with all respect. Court storming has been part of this college basketball for as long as I can remember. I've been involved with court storming. It's great for the spirit of the game. And we're not talking about these aren't, older people. These are students that are rushing the court. These are kids that go to the school and pay tuition. I cannot think of one guy that's been injured during the court storming. I've been involved with a lot of court storming. The only issue I ever had is a Georgia Tech student bumped into me as I was walking to the locker room. When the other team students rush the court, I still have the ability to walk to my locker room and get out of their way. I've never had an issue, never had a student walk up to me and try to start anything. And listen, I caught a lot of hate. And so there's a lot of fan bases that didn't have a lot of respect for me and could have done something, but they never did. I saw multiple angles and I saw multiple viewpoints. I'm not so sure that Scheyer wasn't upset about taking a loss and them allowing their students to rush the court. And there's some angles and there's some footage that, doesn't look good. I thought it could have been a shove. I didn't see him shielding anybody. I actually saw Maluwatch come over and grab him and kind of protect him. I didn't think he needed to rush the court. And, as a player, you have time to prepare. Everyone in the whole building knew they're going to rush the court. So it's not like it was just surprised anybody when they came on the court. I just hate the argument that we shouldn't allow students to rush the court. And some of these guys' arguments or their solutions, as far as I heard somebody say they should just detain everybody that's on the court and give them I thought that was
Bill said that. He said that, yeah.
And he's a pretty smart guy. I couldn't believe he said that. And then somebody else said that the home team should just forfeit the game. Well, you can't control a student body like that. I haven't heard a good resolution to court storming, and I haven't seen a reason why it should be stopped. I think it brings nothing but joy to the game, and it gives a lot of the fans excitement, and that's what separates college basketball from professional sports is there's a pride and there's an energy that you don't get at professional sports unless it's a playoff or a big game. I think banning court storming would take away a lot of what makes college basketball great.
Okay, so I agree with Jon for a few things. One, if there are going to be court storms, I think safety precautions need to be done a little bit better. And by that, I mean, why wouldn't you have security at least rope off a little bit of a section? Brad Brownell was pushing kids back too. So there gets to a point to where two things. One, Clemson, you're winning a lot of games. It's about time to stop court storming. Like, you're good enough. Don't listen to the AP and think you're not ranked.
I agree with that. That's the most controversial thing about it to me.
Yeah, why is Clemson court storming now? Like, you've been at the top of the ACC for like 5-6 years now. You shouldn't be court storming anymore. Stop court storming. You're supposed to win. He's built the program to where you're supposed to win. It's time to stop now because you're expected to win at home. That's how good your program's been. You don't have to do it anymore. The only thing is, I agree with John that certain safety precautions should be taken, and they should be taken more seriously. So I think there needs to be, at least 3 yards from that sideline to where they can shake hands and then get the heck out of the way. And I'm with Tyler. I don't think that any student body members really have any malintent when it comes to, I'm going to storm and I'm going to get in somebody's face. I don't think that's the case. I do think that there's a chance that things could accidentally happen. And I also know, like, you have a lot of testosterone-filled dudes that just took a loss. Things can't go well sometimes. And sometimes you just got to, throw it over your shoulder and take it. But at the same time, like, I do think they should be at least roped off. And I think there should be easier established ways for the opposing team to exit if that's the case. Like, for example, Vanderbilt, they came on the court from like the side of the court, so like the teams could get out. Like at Clemson, you have to walk across the court to get out. Maybe you put the benches on the other side just so it makes for an easier escape route for some of these guys. I do think some of those things need to be thought about, and I don't think you ban court storming, but I also understand, like, outside of Tyler's teams back then, like over the last 6, 7, 8 years, I think Duke's the only team that people have been court storming in the ACC, so they see it more than anybody else. For that matter, I think they see it pretty much like they're the only team who has seen it. So I could see why he's frustrated. I understand the want and the need for a little bit more security, especially after what he perceives as poor security at Wake Forest last year. I don't think that was the case this time. And you talked about a shove. I didn't see every angle. I thought it was very specific, clipped out. But I just think that there needs to be some more precautions taken just so you don't have to feel comfortable because you just got your hind parts kicked. But at the same time, you need to be able to feel comfortable and safe getting out. And I think there's a spot where some guys don't feel safe at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it's not gonna change. It's not gonna, I mean, this is.
I think they're going to try to make it change because, I mean, like Vanderbilt, they racked up almost $1 million in fines from the SEC.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's Vanderbilt.
That's a lot of money.
Clemson needs to stop rushing the freaking floor. Like, you're winning at home. Like, stop rushing the floor. Like,
yeah, and again, I'm totally ambivalent towards it. I could have court storming, I could not have it, but I will say he's just saying let the players get off the court first, right? Like, and then you do whatever the hell you want to do.
The problem with that is if there's no solid escape plan, like, it's going to take too much time. The game's going to be over. You're going to lose the juice. So if that's the case, there needs to be easier exit routes. And at Clemson, they're fully capable of having those exit routes. They just need to switch the sides of the bench so the teams could get out.
So why now are we talking about escape routes and trying to find a safer exit? Who has been hurt? I mean, the Filipowski thing I don't take seriously.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
And
he's got a heightened sensitivity because of that. Would be my guess.
Yeah, of course. So even though it was bullshit, and we all think it was bullshit, like, he's going to be protective of his guys because of a past experience. I know I would be. Like, just because, like, well, something happened before, it could happen again. And even if it wasn't this time, it could be next time. Like, I get that.
I cannot think of an incident where there's been a player outside of the whole Filipowski situation where a guy has been injured or hurt during a court storm. And I think I've never imagined that this would get this level of attention. And it just seems like we're making an issue about something that is not a problem, in my opinion, and good for the sport.
Yeah, and again, it's always coming after an L, so nobody's in a good mood. Nobody's in a good mood either way. All right, listen, we got some more games to break down. A couple of games went final. We'll get to those, and then we'll have the afters coming up a little bit later. Stick around. Field 68 After Dark.
There is no sport in America that is more difficult to follow than college basketball. It can be overwhelming. That's where the Field of 68 Daily comes into play. The Daily is your go-to source for injury updates, recruiting news, and transfer portal additions that actually matter. For just $50 a year, get access to the same information that your favorite team's coaching staff is subscribed for. Quality content can be hard to find in the college basketball space. The Daily is here to help you with that. College basketball fans, are you ready to take your hoops game to a new level? Whether you're a seasoned bettor or just trying to win your March Madness office pool, Rhythm is here to give you the edge this season. With data-driven predictions for every single college basketball game left on the schedule, Rhythm helps you maximize your bets. And as March Madness kicks off, Rhythm's insights will help you spot those plucky Cinderellas that you know are going to shake up the NCAA tournament. But that's not all. When Selection Sunday rolls around, let Rhythm's AI-powered bracket generator do the heavy lifting for you. This is the same AI tool that performed 35% better than the average ESPN bracket last year. And here's the best part. Rhythm pairs perfectly with our Field of 68 expert analysis, giving you the 1-2 punch that you need for the rest of the college basketball season. So don't wait. Download Rhythm today and get ready to see college basketball and your betting results in a whole new light.
Welcome back. Field of 68 After Dark here, Wednesday, February 12th edition of the show. John Martin, Terrence Oglesby, Tyler Hansbrough tonight with you on the show. And then as we wrap up here in about 10 minutes or so, we will do a little bit of afters. So whatever we don't get to in the next 10 minutes, we'll definitely hit on the afters. Texas Tech, however, just polished off a double overtime win against an Arizona State team that's kind of flailing. But threw a punch tonight, threw a couple of big punches, and it was not enough as the train keeps rolling for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. What do you make of this? You know, again, it's an Arizona State team, T.O., that's, you know, trending the wrong way. But you know how it is in conference play, man. These teams get up for games against ranked opponents. But 41-15 from J.T. Toppin tonight, T.O., for Texas Tech.
That's a bad man. J.T. Toppin's a bad man. He's so good. I saw him in New Mexico last year, like so talented, long, athletic, boards. He's a dog. I tried to compare him to Jared Wallace, and I still don't think I'm that far off. Like
that's such a throwback comp. That's such a
throwback
NBA comp. I love it.
Yeah, he just.
I don't know if he would, but
he would love it. He would love it if he knew what the hell he was looking at. But Gerald Wallace, I thought he was the same kind of guy whenever I saw him in New Mexico, and his stat lines just continue to prove me right. 7 offensive boards, 15 total boards, 3 steals, 2 blocks to go along with 41 and 15. That's crazy. That's crazy. You know, I almost feel bad because, you know, you look at Bobby Hurley and like he's just exhausted and they're just so close yet so far. It's like they just can't seem to really get it all on the right track. And they've got some good players, but the Big 12 is a beast, man. That's about as far as I can go. You know, Adam Miller he was good tonight, but it's a tough league. Big 12 is a tough league. Arizona State, I feel like they're playing in the deep end compared to, you know, where they were at a few years ago with the Pac-12. It was a kiddie pool. So it's like it's a tough situation for everybody involved there.
Yeah, no Jaden Quaintance obviously tonight for them. They're really, really thin at Arizona
Played
State.
7 guys today.
Yeah, I mean,
and now you're 7 guys in the game that went to double OT.
And, you know, you do get a couple of days off, but you know, you got to go back home. You know, off a 2 overtime loss, that's going to be tough. Tyler, any thoughts on Texas Tech and just, you know, Grant McCasland, man? You know, obviously getting that job, and it's been a pretty quick rise for him there in Lubbock.
Yeah, I mean, he's done an unbelievable job. Yeah, my first thought about this game is, and T.O. talked about the stat line from Toppin. what I like about this, he shot 1 3-pointer and got 41 points.
There we go.
More people need to recognize that. And he was efficient, 17 for 22 from the field. I wish more people would look at this stat line. And also got to the free throw line 11 times. That's putting in work. And when you have a stat line like that, you're efficient, but also getting to the free throw line, you played physical and you tacked the rim. So I want to give him credit, first of all. And, Texas Tech, I like them. I want to watch them more, but every time I watch them, they play hard, and I love it.
You better be rolling out the red carpet in Lubbock, because Grant McCaslin, there's a lot of other jobs available this summer, and some high-name ones. You better be treating him to his favorite food, his favorite restaurants, throw an extra zero on that money, because he is going to have opportunities.
They got it, T.O. It ain't tricking if you got it at Texas Tech.
Huh?
It ain't tricking if you got it down there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you just got to find your way to Lubbock. And as we know, there's no good way to get to Lubbock. No good way.
That could be a problem. All right, a couple more things we need to hit on before we get to the afters here. Don't look now. Arkansas basketball, 3 out of 4. Polish off won the night against LSU. They covered the number. That's a good team right there. They covered the number at home against LSU. A lot of people, T.O., said, all right, look, you beat Kentucky. You were up for that one. Of course you were going to beat Kentucky. Why wouldn't you beat Kentucky? But then they've kind of stamped it since then, right? Obviously win tonight. You beat Texas at Texas, came up a little short against Alabama, but then win again tonight. So, where is this headed, man? Where is this headed for the Hogs?
Is Calipari back? Like he never left?
Man. Like he never left. I think he might be back.
Here's the thing. Boogie Fland getting hurt with his wrist injury and being out for the season, I think it actually opened up some roles. Like it kind of released some guys, and you didn't have so many of the same person on the floor. Like Boogie Fland's a shot creator for himself. DJ Wagner's kind of in the same mold. Like he can create a little bit for others, but he's pretty one-track minded. Then those other guys were allowed to do a little bit more. I think, I think John L. Davis, he's able to have the ball in his hands more as a decision maker off the bounce. That's actually helped his game out. Zvonimir Visic has played well recently. Guys, talent's never the issue. I think the glut of talent at certain spots, especially when those spots are ball dominant spots, that can inhibit the rest of the roster from getting in a rhythm, because you have a bunch of guys that need the ball to create. So Ivisic, though, man, that's a bad boy. He's starting to kind of figure it out. I'm a big fan of his.
Well, let's not forget, Tyler, that this Arkansas basketball team, I mean, they were picked, what, 4th, 5th in the SEC? I mean, they were picked very high. I may have that number wrong exactly, but it was expected to be a pretty good year for them. And they hit a rough patch, but this is an Arkansas team that beat Michigan. Now they've beat Kentucky. Now they're kind of putting it together. What do you make of them? And is this a good basketball team right now, Tyler?
This team is deadly. That's where I look at this team. They have talent. Big Z has improved. He is just like one step away from making a little bit better decisions, especially late in the game, and really turning around their whole season. And I know their record doesn't really justify, a tournament appearance right now, but this team has a talent. They have players, and ever since they got that dub in Rupp, they have left that arena with a new confidence, a new swagger. Hell, I think Cal's walking a little bit different when he comes out to Arkansas. I think he's gotten a little bit of confidence from that dub. And Johnny Davis is playing better, and I know that he didn't have the best start to the year, but they're starting to find their rhythm, and I think they're almost on that tipping point to be the team that we all thought they would be. And I'm with T.O. Big Z is going to be an issue. Yep. He's starting to turn the corner too.
Yeah, he shoots threes though. I mean, that's his game. I mean, I'm kind of surprised to hear you like his game so much.
Well, he makes them, and if you're going to shoot threes, you might as well make them. I'm tired of watching people shoot them and miss them. I've been dealing with that all year.
Yeah, he has.
So let me go on a limb and say that Illinois is not your favorite basketball team to view this year.
I actually like watching Illinois. It's not the team from last year that had talent that makes some of the dumbest basketball plays. I think this team has the freshman kid that's going to be an NBA player. He's fun to watch. They have the big kid. I don't mind watching
Ivicic's brother. Ivicic's brother.
That's his brother, right?
Yeah, that's his twin brother.
They're the team that shoots nothing but threes and never makes them, though. Like that's why I thought you would absolutely detest watching them, because that's all they do. But you surprise me, man. You surprise me every single day. And big stretch for them coming up as well. Listen, we have a few more games to touch on in the afters, which look, again, we talked about it. Missouri bouncing back, and that was a tough one against Texas A&M. They beat the brakes off of Oklahoma at home.
Hey, real quick. I like Missouri's team, and I like what Dennis Gates has been able to do. He got a bunch of rugged defensive guys, and he has just enough scoring. I like Dennis Gates, and I like that team. 7-4 in the SEC. They're going to be in the tournament for sure. What a turnaround that's been. But the addition of Mark Mitchell, he gives them a junkyard dog. He was awesome today. Whenever he's scoring at a high level, it's crazy. And Caleb Grill, you want to talk about a dude with no conscience, goes down, misses a layup, falls on the ground, doesn't get back on defense, just stays down there in the corner, doesn't bother moving. They fire it. As soon as he catches it, shoots it again, knocks it through. Like, the dude's level of confidence is unparalleled in the SEC. Love Mizzou.
Yeah.
Love Mizzou. I think they're a lot of fun.
Best 3-point shooter in the SEC by percentage. I think it's just and I know we'll talk about Missouri again in the afters, but like, it's just, to me, it's a prime example of, hey, sometimes, man, in this world, you're gonna have a miss in the portal, and the team is not gonna gel, and you're living in that variance, right? Like, sometimes it's gonna happen, but then sometimes it works, and it's working for Missouri.
Yep.
So we'll obviously touch a little bit more on that in the afters. All right, toast of the night, T.O., get us started.
I'll tell you what. Let Tyler go. I feel like he's ready.
All right, what you got, Tyler?
This is going to surprise. I'm going to give Calipari. I'm going to give him my toast. He is turning around Arkansas. He's not at Kentucky anymore. I like him a little bit more now. So for him turning their season around, maybe.
I mean, I think it's happening. I think we're witnessing it, folks. I think we're seeing the turnaround day to day.
Guys, they're 4-7 in the SEC. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. JT Toppin, 41-15. That's where I'm going. I hate that he left the pit at New Mexico, but I'm happy he found a new home. Boom.
I'm going to give it to Villanova coach Kyle Neptune. I'm not saying that his tenure has been good by any stretch of the imagination. It has not. But he obviously came in with just gigantic expectations. And has he met them? No. But can a win like that propel you the rest of the way? It possibly could. Great win. I thought it was their best basketball. I'm going to give you a toast for that. You get it.
Have you been good? Absolutely not. Am I going to drink?
But you were tonight, So anyway, listen, for Terrence Oglesby, for Tyler Hansbrough, I'm John Martin. We're headed to the afters. Thanks for sticking with us. Field of 68 After Dark.
We're live. It's the afters. Hit the chat.
I'm not getting close to any bear.
My career high on the court is 28.
Yep. No, you know what? Welcome to the afters. T.O., you do bring up a really fair point. That was a shitty toast. It was. Because, imagine like that being somebody's like best man speech. You're giving the best man speech and all you do is talk about how terrible the guy is, but he's good now. He's good now. That would not be a good toast. So I should have been better, but you get what I mean, T.O. You get what I was saying.
I got you.
I don't want to.
what you were saying.
I don't want to. I don't want to sit here and act like, oh, he beat, St. John's tonight, so nothing else matters anymore. You know what I mean? Like, of course it does. Like, there's a bigger picture with Kyle Neptune, but at least for a night they can celebrate that.
It was just such. It was just the perfect backhanded. Like, I'm happy for you. You still suck.
No, it was. It was terrible. I apologize.
That's what you said. That's not what I'm saying. That's what you said.
No, it is. You're right. You're like, hey man, have you been good? No. Have you met expectations? No. But you won the night. I mean, that was definitely. I should have been better. All right, a couple of other things to touch on before we get out of here. Ole Miss holds on in dramatic fashion on the road at South Carolina. I mean, look, they've been feisty, man. South Carolina's been feisty. I know it's a tough year for Coach Paris, but man, they do fight hard at home. And if you're not going to be a good team, at least do that. So they do that. Ole Miss holds on. What do you think of this Ole Miss team, T.O.?
Well, first, can I say something about South Carolina first? Just because I had them a couple of weeks ago when they played Texas A&M. Dude, you want to talk about not being set up for success? Their home. Did you see their first 5 home games? You ready for this?
Yeah. Yep.
Alabama. Then their next home game was Auburn. Their next home game after that, Florida. Home game after that, Mississippi State. Home game after that, Texas A&M. And then today was Mississippi. And I think Mississippi is good enough to be in the second weekend. Like, that's where I'm at with Ole Miss. I understand South Carolina is a hard place to play. They've been freaking close, man. They've been really close. Lamont's mad at the world because of how the schedule's turned out. They just can't get it going. But they've got talent. That's the thing that kind of makes them dangerous. And in a league in the SEC this year that's so freaking strong, they're keeping games close. And I know people in South Carolina aren't into moral victories because I live here. But at the same time, man, they're playing hard and they haven't thrown in the towel. They're still competing. And I know Tyler's a big fan of teams that compete. Yet South Carolina competes. It's just compared to the rest of the league, like they have guards there. They don't have the stellar point guard that they had last year. That's what this team is missing, and it's why they've fallen short a little bit. But as far as Ole Miss, they're going to guard. They've won 3 in a row: Kentucky, LSU, South Carolina. They're going to be able to. They have another one at home against Mississippi State. That one went to overtime, and they won they lost on the road to Mississippi State. Like, are they going to be able to swing that one back? Malik D is playing. Like, they just have so many weapons. And I feel like because they're in the state of Mississippi, and I'm sorry to throw that out because it's really close to Memphis, but like because they're in the state of Mississippi, we don't talk about them enough. And I think Ole Miss is good.
Yeah, let me just be extremely clear about that statement. Tennessee and Memphis they just couldn't be more different than Mississippi. The reading levels, literacy, things like that. I mean, I'm not going to let you lump us in, man. I'm not going to let you do that. All right. I'm not going to let you do that. So
we consider Memphis Arkansas anyway.
I mean, I know Memphis gets considered everything, man. But you wouldn't want if Tyler, you wouldn't want somebody to say, "Oh yeah, North Carolina, NC State." You wouldn't want that shit. You got to push back on that, man. You're your own brand.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get confused that often with State, but I mean, yeah, it's.
Dude, by the way, I did not expect State. I thought they would be better than 3 wins in an ACC that is down.
Yeah.
They just made the Final Four. Like, the games have been close, fine, but at some point, that's not an excuse, man. And look, I'm a Keats guy. I love talking to Kevin Keats on the road, out in the summers. Great guy. I did not think they would be lost by 1 to Stanford. Outside of that, they haven't even been really that close. That's scary. Mm-hmm. And I don't see – you just gave that man a boatload of money off of Final Four. I thought they were going to be better.
And I will say, watching their games, there's not a lot of enthusiasm where, the fans aren't showing up. So it is definitely showing.
Yeah. I don't get it.
All right,
I don't get it. Usually you make a Final Four and in the modern day, like a transfer portal, you'll be able to really make hay and like really get things going. That has not happened at all at NC State. Sorry to go off the rails there.
I mean, I think you make a good point. We're not going to go on a tangent on it, but I think like that NC State Final Four run is going to go down as maybe the most random one ever because they just were dog shit for the majority of the year. Like, and then you look up and they're in the Final Four. Like, how did the hell did that happen? So yeah, I really do. I think they'll go down in the annals of history as the most random team to ever find their way there. All right, real quick, we talked a little bit about Missouri. But, I mean, what a turnaround, right, T.O.? I mean, they go from winning 0 games in the SEC a year ago to they're a factor, man. They're a factor in the SEC. They're a factor, it feels like, for a second weekend kind of run. I mean, what's been the biggest difference, you think, when you watch? Is it as simple as, they go out, they get a Mark Mitchell? Is it something like, I mean, what do you think sort of goes into that turnaround for Dennis Gates?
Last year, Noah Carter was too small. Caleb Grill was hurt. Sean East was your ball dominant guy, and he was listed at 6'3", $180. I don't think he was that. And Nick Honor was having to play too many minutes. So you take away your shooting, and then you throw in the fact that they were just really small. That's why they were really bad last year, on top of injuries, obviously. This year, you look up and down this roster, and Mark Mitchell 6'9", every bit of 230. The dude's a horse. Tony Perkins, big guard, 6'4", 200 pounds. Tamar Bates, 6'5", 195, and he's not trying to shoulder everything like he did last year. They just have more. They just have more of everything. They needed depth. They needed size. Dennis Gates can recruit, and I think he's kind of figured out a formula what's best for him. And they're big, they're athletic, and they freaking defend. And then you can find your offense when you have some really good individual players. And I think they've got 2 guys that can really turn it on in Mark Mitchell and Tamar Bates. And then you can have other guys like Caleb Grill, who's shooting damn near 50% from 3, kind of piece it in. And they just have pieces, and they're healthy, and they're big.
Yeah. Tyler, any thoughts on Missouri before we hit one more game and wrap this up?
Yeah, I will say that Missouri is one of the more underrated teams in college basketball, and they're not getting a lot of hype, and they deserve it. T.O.'s right. The Mark Mitchell kid, he's a guy that he's athletic. He has length. He can play defense. His offensive game isn't, it's not pretty, but he gets the job done. He can, affect the game by making athletic tip-ins and things like that. But the other factors, they have bigs that come in and know their role and play their role. Like they have a couple 7-footers. The Josh Gray kid comes in there. He's physical. He controls the paint. And then Trent Pierce, also another 7-footer, comes in. When you have guys that can be rim protectors and embrace that role and don't try to play outside of themselves, it's going to make your team that much better. And Dennis Gates does deserve a lot of credit because last year they were not good. And this year he's pulled a total 180. And, they could be a team that makes a little bit of a run in the tournament. And, when we, it might surprise some people, but if you've been following them and you've been keeping up with Mizzou, it wouldn't surprise you one bit.
Yeah. And then lastly,
Tyler, did you grow up a Mizzou fan?
I was a huge Tiger fan. Kareem Rush. I grew up when Arthur Johnson and those guys made that run, the Elite 8. They've never been to a Final Four either. So. Ever.
Maybe if you'd have stayed home. Man.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues with that program when I was in high school.
Right. You could have turned it around, but in 2025, Tyler Hansbrough could have gone to Missouri for a year, tried it out, or vice versa, go to North Carolina for a year, don't like it, go back home. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that's how it would have gone in 2025. But that was a different time back when you played. All right, and then finally, Xavier, tough place to play going into Providence, and they get a much-needed win, T.O., 91-82. They're playing better basketball, man. There was a time where it felt a little dicey for Sean Miller this year. There's no question about it, but Fremantle's back. He's healthy, 23 tonight. Conwell had 17. Dante Maddox Jr. led the way, 26. They're playing some really good basketball. Is it gonna result in a tournament appearance? Where is this going for them?
For Xavier, I think it's going to be tough, and I don't know their metrics right off top. I'm just sitting here looking through KenPom and all their numbers.
Next 4 out right now, according to Field of 68.
Yeah, next 4 out according to the Fielding the 68 show. Shout out Facts and Childress. Here's the thing. Could they compete in a game? Sure. Do I think they're an absolute tourney lock? They're going to have to rattle off some more, and they're going to have a bunch of non-losses. And what I mean by non-losses, Tyler and I are very familiar with that statement now, being in the ACC. Can't lose to DePaul, can't lose to Butler, can't lose to Seton Hall. That's their next 3. Opportunity against Creighton, and then you have 2 more. So you have to literally, if you want a shot, you're going to have to win 5 out of your last 6, at least. And if you can rattle off all 6, great. But you rattle off your last 6, I think you're in good shape. Providence has been disappointing. I know they're missing a really good player who may or may not be in that jersey next year, but whatever. I thought you brought in enough talent there to where your record should be better than what it is. They've now lost 4 in a row. I kind of go back to, expectations. I had bigger expectations for Providence, at least competing at a higher level this year, and they haven't been able to do that.
I'll just say on the Xavier front, when you're talking about are they a tournament team, when I do look at their metrics, I pulled it up while T.O. was talking. They only have 1 quad 1 win, and that's not going to cut it. And going 7-7 in the Big East, that's not going to get you in the tournament. I do not see them in right now, but that doesn't mean they can't get in. They're just going to have to, they're going to have
probably
to
win their last 6.
Yeah.
Probably win their last 6. Yeah, that's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, maybe they're peaking here at the right time, at the right moment here as we get into middle of February. Listen, that's going to do it for us tonight here.
Hold on, John.
Oh,
I've got one question from the chat very quickly, and then we can get out of here. I forget the name of the guy in the chat, but he wants to know your picks for this weekend. 1 versus number 2, Auburn, Alabama. Quickly.
Where's it at?
I believe it's Alabama. Let me check. This is great podcasting here.
Yeah, great podcasting. Can they hear
us? I don't want to get. I don't want to guess. I don't want to just. I don't want to give you like a wrong answer.
It's Alabama.
Alabama, yeah.
Tyler comes in quick.
I'm picking Alabama at home. They're going to catch fire and it's going to go nuts. Alabama at home, just because Auburn fans already hate me.
I want to pick Auburn because T.O. picked Alabama, but I've been on Alabama since they destroyed us in the Smith Center, and that's not a good barometer to really judge a team this year by beating us. But I'm going to go Alabama. I think that Mark Sears is, he had that little road bump or speed bump with Oates, and he has turned the corner. And I love when players actually take criticism and they play through that, and you can see an adjustment. And he's done that. He deserves a lot of respect. I'm going Bama.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Bama too. It's gonna be a 3-wide sweep here.
Auburn's gonna win. All 3 of us.
They'll win. They'll win when it goes back. They'll split these. Alabama's playing too well right now. They're playing too well offensively, and they're very similar teams. They really are. That's why I'll just give the slight edge to Alabama here at home. All right, fellas, enjoyed it. That's going to do it for us here tonight on the Afters. For Terrence Oglesby, for Tyler Hansbrough, I'm John Martin. Thanks, as always, for being with us, and make sure you keep it locked here on Field of 68 for the most comprehensive college basketball coverage in the world. Have a good night.